Just a quick disclaimer on this week's episode, there may be some content or topics that are quite triggering for some people. Please check the description below for these triggers.
Welcome to the Book Tea with V.
Welcome back to this week's episode of the Book Tea with V. Now, I'm warning you now, this week's episode is just pure chaos, and there's a few reasons for that. And also, I apologize for my stuffy voice. I just feel like everyone's sick at the moment. As always, let's start and let's talk some pop culture. I actually didn't really get into much news this week simply because it has been such a busy week for me. We were moving. There's just been so much going on. But what I did see, which is absolutely everywhere, and I feel like I only know about this model simply because of TikTok, but Olivia Culpo, I believe that's how you pronounce it, had her wedding. And everyone's been talking about the dresses. Obviously, I wanted to put my 2 cents in. I thought her dresses were lovely, don't get me wrong. The first look, that was the high neck, long sleeve, I felt like had she put her hair up, it would have looked so much more timeless. However, it's your wedding. Do what you like. And people that hated her final look, which was like the really cute sort of see-through look that she had, I loved it. I thought it was just so different, classy but cute. I loved it. But that's all for the sort of pop culture today. And there's not really any book tea, simply because life has just been so busy. We moved from our apartment, which is really bittersweet. We were ready to go, but there is so much exciting things coming up. So we are going to be in Canada for a little bit, and we are going there in August. So if there's anyone out there listening that is either from Canada or the Calgary area specifically, let me know, what should we be doing? I'm someone that when I travel, I want to know what's good to eat, or if there's any like customs that people have that we need to do or try. So I'd be super interested to hear. I did buy some cowboy boots because I think I'm firmly going to be in my cowboy era for August. That's when we'll be going. So only a couple of weeks. So I'm so excited. So let's get into what I've been reading this week. And quite honestly, I am so excited to talk about this series. I picked up the first book and sort of put it down, loved it, but forgot it was a series. I found it again. I finished it within like 2 days. Obsessed would be an understatement. Now, this series is called The Kings of Blackwater by Ravenwood. Where do I even start? So it's dark college romance, but it's set in a university for assassins. All the men are unhinged. Even the women are unhinged. It's check your trigger warnings. It is so spicy. I feel if you love sort of dark romance like Legacy of Gods, you're going to love this. It kept me hooked. I just loved it. And I kind of want to do a mini deep dive into each of the books. So let's start on book 1. The first book in the series is Alluring Darkness. Now this one follows Eli and Raina. So Eli is a part of the Hunter brothers. He is basically affiliated with the mafia and he is completely unhinged. And then you have Raina. And the reason why she comes into it is because her brother is attacked by the Hunters, Eli. And she's like, you know what? I need to go to this Blackwater University to work out what's going on. These two together are so unhinged. If you're looking for like a badass FMC, Raina's your girl. No fucks given at all. I was hooked. It was so different to anything that I'd read before, but I did put it down until I think a couple of days ago. And then we had Inescapable Darkness. Now this one follows Rico and Isabella. This one, again, was really different. Now, he is the secret mafia heir to a prominent mafia family. She is in a cult and she has been groomed to be an assassin. And when she was about, 15 or so, and Rico was 16, she was given an order to kill him and his whole family. She was ordered to kill him specifically. But when she got to the room, as he was sleeping, he woke up and there was like gun to his head. She couldn't do it. Years later, they then see each other again at Blackwater University. Now, she is trying to convince him this whole time that it's not her. She doesn't know what he's talking about. And he is just going nuts because he's like, I know it's you. Why did you do what you did? I need so many answers. It is so good. Book 3, I wanted to get to because this certain character, Caden, he's the other Hunter brother. one of the Hunter brothers. But he really stuck out for me because he was that silent type. Didn't have any emotions, very Killian Carson like. And there was something about him. So he is this unfeeling, he's got this thing with knives. He's just psycho. Throughout the series, before his book, you learn that the Petrovs are like their biggest enemies. And there's about 4 siblings. One day they come across these siblings and notice there's a girl with them, which just so happens to be their sister, Alina. When Caden spots her, it is immediate. He is obsessed, but like he seems to confuse it with being obsessed because he hates her. So it's very enemies to lovers. But the tension and the way this man is so obsessed, I think he's my new favorite unhinged man. You will notice on TikTok that I'm going to start talking about this series and this man a lot. This book was just everything. And if you're looking for a dark romance, sort of college academy assassin vibe, this is it. This whole series centers around Blackwater University. It's a university for assassins. It is just chef's kiss. Now, the 4th book, Irresistible Darkness, this one took like a turn for me because it wasn't as dark as the others, but it was so much fun. The banter, amazing. Now, this one follows Jace and Kayla. He's obviously at Blackwater to be an assassin, but his biggest thing in life is he hasn't had a choice. It was just sort of, you're going to be an assassin, like all your brothers, like your family. That's what's happening. So he was just drinking to sort of numb that fact that he didn't have a choice. It comes to light that he does want a choice, and his dad goes, you know what? There is an assignment that has come up. If you complete this well, I will give you the choice. Now, that assignment is being Kayla, who is like an heiress, her bodyguard. This is the most fun bodyguard romance I've ever read. Honestly, if you pick up nothing this week, pick up this. It is such a good series. I devoured it, and there is more books by Ravenwood that I plan to read because I was so engrossed in the reading. Just the feeling of these books, I loved it. But the book I'm about to start is by Luna Mason. It is Roman Petrov, and I just know it's going to be a spicy delight. I'm just so engrossed in Luna Mason's world that she builds, and her spice just never misses. And the banter that she brings, I love Luna Mason. And it brings us on to more chaos today because Luna Mason is actually our guest today. And I apologize for the chaos that we bring. But what did you expect when it was us two together? Luna Mason, thank you so much for coming on to the Book Tea with V. It's just such a pleasure to have you.
Well, I'm happy to be here. I'm very excited for this.
And if anyone, like obviously people don't know, but we've tried this a couple of times now. And, you know, Luna always says she brings chaos. She is chaos. I think that might be true. I think we've come to a conclusion.
Everything
we tried to record.
Yeah, but we're here. And this time people actually get a good background rather than a white wall.
Oh my goodness.
They've got
gorgeous.
All of my men on the wall. But we're going to leave it there because Caged and Chaos are the men of the moment.
Oh God, they are. And, you know, before we get into it, congratulations. I just finished Cage, and like with all of your books, every single time I read a new one, it's my favorite. Nikolai is no different. I loved Mila. I'm obsessed. Single dad might just be your trope.
I might have to keep doing them. I want to do single mum, but yeah, I enjoyed writing the single dad. I think it was a really cool element, different for me as well. Still very far away from being able to write a daddy kink, but that's the closest we've gotten.
And do you know what? Because you love a kink in your book, so that's just somewhere you won't really go. It's just not for you.
I can't write it.
I can't do it.
Nope. No, wow. I take it out every time. I've tried it in this one. I tried it in Roman. I guess maybe the right character, proper age gap, maybe. Don't know, but no, not happening yet.
Well, it's good. You're not forcing it because it's a thing. You're going, it doesn't work for me right now. When it does, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, if I've got to find something hot to write it to get it spicy enough, I think. And if I'm not into it, I can't expect anyone else to be into it.
Very true. I like that. So I'm going to start at the very beginning because we were about a year or so ago, we were babies in this. You know, I was
probably 1,000 followers. You hadn't even brought up distance. And we sort of met online, and it's just so funny to think of where we're both at now. Like, I see you at events and you're in big rooms, you've got big banners, you've got a number of books out now, like you're known everywhere. It's so crazy what's happened in such a really a short amount of time.
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember messaging you. I used to watch your TikToks to like read. So I messaged you because I was like, well, I need people to read this book and I want for you to read this book. And I was like squealing when you replied and you were like, yeah, I was like, what? Really? Okay, cool.
Oh, I love that. And we've been really good friends ever since. I think like it's been such a lovely thing for both of us on different sides of like the book talk area. To you're
Yeah.
someone that I can just go to and be like, what do you think about this? Or like have that back and forth and
Yeah.
get each other's opinions on things.
Yeah. And I love being brutally honest about stuff. So
And I also love just getting the little snippets of like the books that are coming out or your
yeah.
dedications, which everyone knows I say this, but you are the queen of book dedications. Every single one just like has me in a chokehold. Every single one.
Do you know what? I actually really love writing them, and I will kind of think about the dedication before I start writing the book. So I'm like, this is kind of the message, even if it's a spicy message, there's always something in there. And that's kind of where I want to go with it. I almost did 2 in Chaos, but I kept it to 1. But I enjoy coming up with them, and I probably focus too much on them, but I think it sets the tone for the book.
Oh no,
And I don't know
absolutely.
other people's.
No, I know a Luna Mason dedication when I see it. Like if someone was to show me something, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's a Luna Mason
Yeah,
dedication. Like
typically 3 lines.
so again, to start at the beginning, had you always wanted to write? Like, is it something that you had done as a teen? You've always wanted to write, or is it something that you just one day started out of nowhere? What's your story there? Yeah.
So I always wanted, when I say always, I've always kind of read. I've always been into reading to the point, like when I was younger, my parents run out of like bookshelf space for me. And I'd do like the challenges at school and I would absolutely smash them because I love reading. Then obviously I moved into romance, dark romance. But I was kind of busy. So when I was at uni, I bought all these books. I think it was Stephen King, like How to Write a Novel, and like courses. I took a few courses that did absolutely nothing. And then I kind of put it on the back burner because I was doing my dissertation. Then I obviously like went into law and I didn't have time and I didn't actually know what I was doing. I could write non-fiction quite
Mhm.
well, but I hadn't really tried fiction. So it wasn't until I had my son and I was off work. And I'm one of those people, my brain has to keep going.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not working, I have to be doing something. Otherwise, I would fall apart. I think I can't live in my brain. And I was like reading massively. I think my record was 5 books in a day.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I was then spending more time trying to work out what to read rather than reading. So I thought,
Yeah.
do you know what? I've got all this time. My baby's asleep. I'm just gonna see what happens. So I kind of plotted out the first 3 books, and it was all to get to Luca's book. And I just thought, I'm going to write exactly what I want. It's not for anyone else. My market is me. And then kind of in the background, do a bit of research on like my favorite authors. How are
Mhm.
they doing stuff? I learned what ARC teams were, beta teams, and just kind of like fumbled around a bit. But I wrote and I did the whole like, I think it's a month to write 50,000 words. I
Yeah.
can't remember what it's called now. I did that. And then I think distance was maybe 87,000. So then I
Yeah.
had the extra 30,000 odd to write. And then I just kind of started marketing it on TikTok. I always said I wanted to publish a book. I didn't
Mhm.
realize I'd be indie publishing it. I didn't realize it would become my job. But I've always said like my bucket list thing is I want to say I'm a published author, however I do that. Whether it's 1 book, 3 books, whatever.
Well, it looks like you'll be continuing for a while. I don't think we're going to allow you to stop anytime soon. I feel like, and all authors must feel this. Readers, we're selfish creatures. We read
Can't
we
it?
read a book and we yeah, and we're like, where's the next one?
Yeah.
You know, we can't get our
I love
hands on.
that though.
It is. It just means that we're so invested in the story and the characters that
Yeah.
you've created. And I guess that brings me to, was it always Mafia? Was it always going to be Mafia? Is that just sort of, will it always be Mafia? Do you see any changes?
So I went through a phase of sports romance, like sports. So
Did
this is where Keller
you?
came from. I was obsessed, like hockey, like NHL, NFL. I don't care what it was, sports. And then I kind of read so many, and I was like, and I dipped into Mafia as like my main.
Hmm.
Um, and I was just kind of thinking, like, these men need to kill more people, like, because their kill rate is really low, like none.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe a punch or two.
So I was watching the boxing one night and I was just like, well, they're all right. And then I thought, imagine if he was a psychopath. And
And
then Killer
that
popped
is
in my
where it
head.
started.
Yeah, that is literally it. So I think Mafia's where I'll primarily stay. Um, I've got plans for a lot more in the Beneath the Universe. I obviously want to go into Rockstar, but again, it's going to be a Mafia base. Everything
Yeah.
has a Mafia base, I think, because I like the dark stuff. And I think for me, I would struggle to write
Yeah.
because I wouldn't love it. And it would probably end up going dark and be a bit confusing. I'd like to do an office romance, but again, my idea for that is very dark.
Yeah.
And there'll be mafia ties to the main male character. So yeah, everything. I will dip my toes in other stuff, but I think it will always be a crossover. Unless, even if I went into paranormal, I'd still probably manage to wangle it in.
Probably. Well, it's something that you do so well. And I think you've created, I mean, we've had Beneath the Mask, and, you know, that just, it's everywhere. Everyone loves it. And it's so funny. I love hearing what everyone's favorite character is and their favorite book. And I feel like every answer is always different in the sense there doesn't seem to be one direct favorite.
Yeah,
Mine's
they all have
Frankie.
a different quirk. Oh,
And
Frankie didn't even exist at the start.
I can't believe it actually hurts me when you say that. It's
Mm.
just I don't know, he just speaks to me in that series. I loved them all. I felt like after Keller, I was like, I need Grayson's book. I really need Grayson. I really need Luca's book. But again, every book I was like, okay, this is my man. But out of all of them, Frankie he just hit a spot for me.
Yeah, Frankie. I enjoyed Frankie's book tested me the most. I mean, I remember standing outside at 2 in the morning and crying my eyes out because I had just binned, I think, 35,000 words.
Oh
Just
no.
it was wrong. It's something that wasn't working. I think it was because it was the end of the series and I had to tie up so much
Yeah.
where I hadn't planned his book. It was supposed to stop at Luca. So I had a lot of backtracking to do to make sure everything tied in and it was a good enough ending because there's nothing
Yeah.
worse than when something ends and it's not good enough. Um, and obviously we know that I like to rapid release because I can't work on something for too long. But yeah, that one really tested me. Um, Luca's did emotionally, Jax's did emotionally, Frankie's tested me career wise, thinking, what am I doing? But I think I got it right. I think Frankie is a very powerful character. And I did enjoy writing him in the end. And Zara. I
He
love Zara.
they both were just, I mean, I loved all the books, and I know that Keller is your baby because, and I think the first always will be. But then
Yeah.
I remember you even back then, and I think Distance wasn't even out, and you're like, I just need to get to Luca. Luca's the one on my mind.
Yeah.
Was his book just something that was different than all the others for you? Was he just someone that stood out from day one?
Yeah. Yeah. He was, I don't know how he popped in my mind. I think I've realized recently I enjoy writing characters that have a bit of like a quirk, something funny about them. So
Mhm.
I struggled writing Frankie. I struggled writing Nikolai. I will struggle to write Mikhail because they're cold.
Yeah.
And I think my brain works. I kind of like a bit crazy, not very like, I don't know, they're just a very cold character.
Yeah.
And you'll notice every now and again, like Nikolai would slip something in that's a bit funny because I'm like, just we need something injected in here. Um, Luca for me was like that ultimate character of like the mafia boss, but he's funny, he's cheeky, and I knew I wanted to give him a really meaningful story, so
Yeah.
that was it as well. Because the first two books, I was trying to find my feet on how dark I want to go,
Mhm.
how much I want to push it. Luca's book is the first one where I actually thought, okay, we're going to push boundaries. So we went
Yeah.
into like the abuse storyline of Rosa. And then I've kind of continued that, and it gave me the confidence to go into like the miscarriage in Frankie, the suicide in Jax. Again, Caged, I had to take a bit of a break, I think, from that. But then we'll be diving right back into some deep stuff in Alexi's book
Yeah.
and probably Mikhail's.
I mean, I can see that happening for both Alexi and Mikhail. Like, I have to say, and we'll talk a little bit more about the new series. He's someone that really stands out to me. And I think I am.
Okay.
I just love the cold characters. I do. But before we get to the new series, I have to say fuck, marry, kill with the old boys. So I'm going to be mean.
I wonder if my answer's different.
Well, I've changed it around because I
Okay.
didn't want you to be. So I've brought someone from the new ones in. Okay, Keller, Nikolai, Frankie. I thought this would be hard. I was like, which one's going to stump her?
If I'm fuck one, it would have to be marry one. We'll move on. Hang on. If I'm going to marry one, I think I'm going to marry Nikolai.
Okay.
Great dad. Great in bed.
He'd be a great husband. I reckon he'd be a great husband too,
Yeah.
actually.
I can't kill Keller, so I'm going to have to fuck Keller and I'm going to have tears. And then...
Why do I feel like you always fuck over Frankie?
Well, you could have put Grayson in there and I would have said kill Grayson because he's my least favourite.
Sure, on the live.
I don't even hide that fact. People, whenever at signings, people come to me and they're like, I always say like, "Who's your favourite?" They're like Grayson. I'm like, why? I'm so mean about this man.
I loved him too. Like it was that, I don't know, that Grumpy Sunshine part of that book as well.
Maddie, I loved. I don't know what it was with me. Maybe because he was blonde.
I just can't get behind it. I just can't. He's blonde.
No, but like in real life, that wouldn't bother me.
Isn't it funny how it's like it's dark and broody or nothing, but you like the quirky ones. So we've got Beneath the Secrets, the new series, Chaos. I still think about that book. It's one of my top books of 2024. It was just, I'd never read anything like it from you before. And I don't think I'd read a Mafia book like it before. It was so different and it stuck. And I think, we're recording this on Men's Mental Health Month. It won't be by the time it's posted, but it just, with all the themes within that book, and if you haven't read it, obviously check your trigger warnings.
Please.
But it deals with, I think elements that still aren't talked about enough.
Yeah. I think it was hard to write. I can't lie. It was really hard to write, and it made me think about a few things. It made me really aware of things I even do with my son. So, for example, when he falls over, hurts himself and cries, if he was a little girl, for example, the instinct would be pick them up. It's okay. You're okay. Like, you can cry. But I noticed with boys, it's not that. It's, come on, get up. We'll go again.
Yeah.
I think it's very ingrained in us. And obviously a lot of stuff I personally believe can be learned and taught from your environment. So I try to be a lot more active in my thinking. I want him to grow up and be able to speak about his emotions and cry and not be able to, or not have the whole, my mum kind of taught me that it's not manly to cry.
That man up phrase.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah, and I think it's important, and I think any man that you speak to, if you actually kind of went into their brain and got them to open up, it would be shocking how many that would say that they'd felt like Jax or had bits of it, and women too. I mean, it's anyone can feel like that. They're not quite as open and in society about it. Even between themselves. So yeah, I thought it was an important thing to touch on, and Jax's story took its own. He told me what he wanted to write, and I might sound nuts, but he took me on that story. And like I said, I learned a lot about even myself and how I feel and different ways of thinking. So I'm kind of grateful. And that is why I have my tattoo.
Yeah, and you know, if anyone's been on Luna Mason's socials, which absolutely you need to if you haven't, she recently got the tattoo, and it's just so stunning, actually beautiful,
Yeah, thank you.
and clearly means so much. Honestly, I'm getting emotional a little bit. Actually, I do get emotional when I think about this book because
Yeah,
it just hit me. It really hit me, and I
yeah,
felt like I was there, and he was going through so much loss and pain. And I think if you can't relate to his thoughts and what he's going through there, you can relate to loss
yeah,
and how that feels in any sort of form, breakup,
yeah.
you know, death
So
of a
that's
family,
where it came
anything.
from. The whole premise of the book I came up with as a kind of mechanism. I thought, because I see a lot of people saying they write to kind of heal themselves. So I thought, right, okay, we'll do it. We'll do that. We'll deal with grief. Obviously, I did as his best friend. Um, maybe it helped, maybe it didn't. I don't think so. For me personally, but I think something good came out of it. And a lot of it, I guess, makes me quite sad because some of them are my thoughts in regards to when he's talking about Kai. That would be
Mm,
me. There was one particular line that I wrote, I think it was like the day after my birthday, and I spent the entire day just bawling my eyes out. And it was one of those ones where you can't, when you cry and you can't speak and
yeah.
like your throat closes in. And there's a line in there where he says, when am I going to be able to talk about him without my throat closing in on me? And that was me writing how I felt at the time. So stuff like that's cool. Like from a creative
It's like
point,
therapeutic, almost getting it
yeah,
out on a page that makes
yeah,
sense to
yeah,
you in a private way as well.
mm, yeah. So
Oh, I love
it was a different experience,
that. Yeah,
but then it made me very emotionally attached to
yeah.
him and the reviews and what people thought about it. So I've had to step away from that because like it can be a bit much. There's only so much of a thick skin someone can have. Mine's pretty
Though
thick.
though in saying that, like I can only speak for myself. I loved it. I thought at that particular time, I was like, the best thing you've ever written.
Oh.
Until Caged came along,
Hmm.
and I was up all night last night reading it. And the only way I can describe this to people is this book to me felt like Quentin Tarantino, Mafia, and like that sort of smidge of small town single dad nanny vibe, make a baby. I can't tell you how much I needed that in my life, like those three things.
Hmm.
It was like nothing I've ever read before, and it just kept me so engaged. Like there were scenes where it was like the fighting scenes, or they've gone to
Yeah.
unalive someone, and I was just like, oh my god, it feels like I'm in a Tarantino movie. Like there's things flying here, there, everywhere.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Luma.
I
But
thought Zara was quite badass, but Mila, she really took the bar of being fiery but violent. I loved how violent she is, and I loved how many times she stabbed him.
oh,
Like, I think we
romance.
totaled a lot of stabbings. He's a pincushion.
But she was so sweet to Nikolai's daughter. It was
Yeah.
that, and this is why she was so likable. She was this badass. She was on this mission. She had to do this. You know,
Hmm.
she was trying to save a family member. But when it came to the little girl that she was, looking after,
Yeah.
no, nothing was coming between them. She was so all about that little girl. It was just so special. I loved it. And so funny in parts.
Yeah. Alexi helps with that though, doesn't he?
He, and can I talk about like little snippets?
Yeah.
Is it going to be
No, yeah, of
okay?
course.
So I know with your books, you have this thing where you have a character you want to get to always. So before it was Luca, this time it's Alexi. And for anyone who's read Caged or going to read Caged, Alexi's been a big character so far in this series. Tell me why he has a flamingo. This man is so unhinged. And then he's running around after this flamingo in scenes. It's honestly hilarious.
So he's very impulsive. His intrusive thoughts. He just does. If you saw in chaos, I'm going to dip
Mhm.
my finger in it, just knock myself out. The flamingo though is actually it's funny for now. His book it's a very symbolic meaning, and it's going to be a massive part of his book. And I think people listening will, if they know what the flamingo is and why it
Yeah.
could be symbolic and where their story might be going. But obviously, a bit like Alexi, it's going to be a deep book, but
Mhm.
also it will have hilarious, like, you're going to have characters that should have died in chaos come back to have an Alexi style death. And when I say Alexi style death, like, think big.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be pure carnage as we go. Like, I think following his brain, he is so neurodiverse. I don't think he could be any more in how he thinks, but
No.
once he realizes, I think, the whole love aspect and why he's been behaving like he's been behaving since he was 12, that's going to be a big like flick of a switch. But the spice is going to be something else. Like, there's stuff that I'm hiding from you that I just can't. It's going to be
Why are
so
you doing
good.
this to me? And I
It's
think
honestly,
because we've got Lara. Lara's our FMC, and they, if you've read the series so far, you know that they've got this connection, and he is all about just
sad.
making sure she's okay. That's all he wants. He just wants to be her rock. And it's just the sweetest thing. It's like this unhinged man is really soft for this one woman. So
Yeah.
I just can't wait for them. But then, as always, there's characters that I can't wait for. And in Caged, Enzo came up. I'm all about him. But Mikhail, he has been my main man since day one. And there's a scene
You
where
like
he
them
winks.
last?
Oh, honestly, there's a scene where he winks at Mila, and there's like a moment there. And that was a massive moment for him. Like, when you go through the book and realize what they've all gone through, and then there's that moment
Yeah.
where he just gives her a bit of something playful. I was like, okay, there's more to this man. Like, when you're one of
yeah.
his.
Oh yeah. I'll give you some clues. It's going to involve a lot of chains. It's going to be very forbidden. Yeah. And he is funny. Just to let you know, he's funny. He's got a sense of humor. Behind that, we have, I guess, two different versions of him. Like the pre what happened to him, the post what happened to him. They've kind of merged together.
Yeah.
So when he opens up to someone behind closed doors, he is a different guy.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. I'm looking forward to it, but I can't think about it yet because Alexi lives in my brain all the day, all day, every day. He
I
has
think he
done
has
for
since
months.
day one.
I
And
was
it's,
writing. I was writing Caged, and I was actually starting writing Crave. I've got
you
the
are a
program
nightmare.
down on my phone. Yeah, I'm obsessed with them. So yeah,
Oh,
if
I
you're gonna read
can't
a
wait.
book that's my like baby, it's gonna be, well, a toss up between Chaos, Luca, and this one.
Oh, I'm so excited. Honestly, I just feel like I fell in love with your books early on, but for anyone that's been on the Luna Mason journey, it honestly feels like, and I think you must get this a lot, because when I speak to people, they're like, no, this one's my favorite. You come out with a new one, and all of a sudden we're just like, okay, now this one's my favorite. And we,
I
it's
like to
just,
push boundaries. I don't want to keep writing books that are the same. I don't
no,
want to.
it's
So I
not a
want to
copy and
keep
paste at
pushing.
all.
Yeah. So I wanted to make sure, like, Nikolai was different from Grayson because he's a book 2, kind of like leading into book 3 again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to. Otherwise, I'll get bored. So I'm quite aware, but also it's quite nerve wracking because it's got to the point I'm on book 6 and everyone's like, right, okay, this is the best one. I'm like, yeah, okay, but what point are we gonna go? No, that's absolutely awful. That's it. You're done.
No, we love it. We're just like, give us more.
Genuine fear.
More true, more forbidden, more dark.
I'm
So
gonna keep going.
yeah. Well, we're just going to demand it as readers. That's just our job. Cave is out, will be out by the time this goes out.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what everyone thinks. I absolutely loved it. Another 5-star read for me. And another top of 2024, actually. So I feel like you're going to be taking up space
I'll have
in
a
this
whole lot.
sorting. Yeah, you will. And I feel like you've got one coming out. Are both 2 books or just one more book for the year? What's your future
I've
plans? What
got
are we?
Roman coming out next month. That
Mhm.
it's a novella. My first MMF scene.
Oh,
Completely unrelated to the series.
yeah.
Crave will be out in September,
Hmm.
and I have scheduled down for Claim to be middle of January.
Yeah.
But I will see, because I have plans for Enzo that involve a duet. two very beefy books, I want them releasing quite close together.
Yeah.
When I say close together, it will be within a month. I'm aiming for 2-3 weeks. So my idea for that is next May,
Mm-hmm.
which means I could maybe, if I actually get my arse in gear and not do what I've just done with Caged, if I get ahead of myself, I could release Claim in December, but we will see. I'm not promising anything.
No.
I've I think realised I need to work on my scheduling. It's very much part of my brand at this point. People don't really know what to expect from me because I could say a date and they'd be like, "Here you go."
But I feel like we love you for it. We never know what we're going to get, and that is what we love. And you know what we're always going to get, though, is just real.
Yeah.
If there's one thing I can say about you as a person, as an author, what you see is what you get. And I just could not love you more, honestly.
I love you too. That's cute.
I know. I'm sorry I left, but you know, I will come back,
Yeah, if not, I'm coming out to you.
which wouldn't be a bad thing. I mean, you do look very
As soon
summery.
as my son is old enough to deal with that
Yeah.
flight with me, I will be
Yeah.
there.
Oh, I can't wait. Honestly, as
Right.
always, I just love speaking to you about anything. I could, like I said, I could read your grocery list and be thoroughly entertained. So I
No,
love you so
wouldn't be
much.
because there isn't one. I wing
Thank you
that
so
too. I
much.
walk in and go, don't know what I want.
You're like, I'm just going to make it up. What would Alexi have?
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, true. Thank you so much. Honestly,
Thanks for having me.
it's just so good to see you.
And you. And I
And I
will,
hope
well,
everyone loves Caged. It's
me
my favorite
too.
so far.
Me too. And also, forgot to mention the Chaos audio is now out. So,
You're joking. Right, well, I know what I'm doing today.
See what I mean? I can just fling things out. I forgot. Yeah, so that's out. So if you want to cry, but I had to turn it off, the spice. At one point, I was reading it or listening to it, sorry, and I was like, okay. So I switched to a sad chapter just to get me back in
Oh.
the mood. Yeah, it's really beautifully done. However, trigger warnings on steroids there because
Yeah. And I
it's
will put them in the podcast as well. Like just for the things that we talk about. I feel like people should, I think we should come with a warning anyway. But, you know,
yeah, my books are a walk-in list. But yeah.
grocery list. Isn't that what they call it
Yeah.
these days?
I actually struggled writing Nikolai's because I forgot what I'd put in. So I was writing the triggers and I was like, oh yeah, is that a trigger?
On it, I think the scenes that shocked me the most, it wasn't the spice, because I know what I'm expecting now from your spice, but it was the like gory. Yeah, I guess like the gory scenes, but they just fit the tone. I was like, okay, we've gone Tarantino vibe, and I'm here for it.
So that's one thing I wanted to work on from like distance and detonate. I was like, I wasn't as comfortable doing it. Now I'm like, I have a list on my phone of like awful torture techniques, or like I'll think of something and I'm like, oh my god, that is an awesome way for Alexi to kill someone.
I can tell.
Yeah, I'm having a great time with it. You can get a lot of violence out of yourself. You know, it's a bit of a therapy thing. You know, I could go
Absolutely.
punch a punch bag, or I could kill them off in a book.
I mean, if it works for you, it works for you. You got to do
Yeah.
what works.
Yeah, well, keep you all on your toes, and I've got to make you like squirm a little bit. It's mafia.
Yeah, that's true. And realistically, with Mafia, you can go as far as you want. There,
I'm
you
like,
know.
wait till book 4. I have
Oh.
some big plans for that.
Oh, you're evil. You are evil. You're like, yep, got all the plans, not telling you. I do try and pry it out of her like as close as I can to release.
And I am the queen of spoilers. Like if someone asks me, I'm like, yeah.
You are, you're so funny. I don't have to fight you too hard for them. I don't have to like twist your arm. I just have to like grab a pinky and
Yeah. Well, I trust you. I trust you with my secrets.
yeah, no, it never goes any further. Oh, it's honestly, it's so good to see you. I wish that I was over there for summer at the moment and we could go and have a drink and cause chaos in London. I just think that would be so much fun. But, you know, not this year, maybe next.
Yeah, it's not too far away. We're halfway through this year. I'll hold you to
exactly.
it.
Exactly.
Or a signing.
Oh.
We'll see each other at a signing, maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. Oh,
Yeah.
I adore you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And, well, I'm sure I'll have you on again. So,
yes, whenever you want.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Luna Mason is such a special author to me and person to me. I feel like journeys that we've had in the sense of I started my TikTok, I had about 1,000 followers at the time. She hadn't even brought out Keller's book. And just having watched her grown and where she is now, the books that she's brought out, it has just been such a pleasure to watch. I adore her. And if you haven't read any Luna Mason, what are you doing? Go, run, don't walk. So let's get into the books that you need to be aware of. So on the 26th of July, we've got Neva Altaj's book, Beautiful Beast. It's next gen, Forced Proximity. Neva Altaj books, like her Mafia books, I adore them. But there's something about next gen. I can't wait. Now, on the 18th of July, we've got from the Fallen series, Gianna Darling, Asking for Trouble. Now, I have not finished this MC series, but I remember eating up book 2 and 3. So I need to continue the series. So now that the 8th one is out, I need to get back into it. Now, on the 25th of July, Gabrielle Sands brings out her new series. I loved the previous series. Now, this new series is Fallen Gods, and the new book is When He Desires. So I cannot wait to pick up that one. And then lastly, If You Want Me by Helena Hunting. Now, this is a hockey romance. It's out on the 11th of July. It's Dad's best friend, age gap. So I'm leaving you with a bang. That is the tea this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Can't wait to see you next week.